Hi friends, warm welcome to Balkiedify channel. In this channel, we are going to see some insights about requirement gathering. In IT industry, we normally hear the word requirement. What is this? The requirement is standing. What exactly the requirement means? Whenever the software is made, usually this is made out of some business expectations. The expectation that includes the criteria, the conditions, even how the business flow happens, all these things constitute the requirement. So when we are making a software, the software is going to replace the existing. The existing might be a manual one or it might be a new one. Software which is already replacing with the technology, upgraded technology. That is also possible. In both the cases, all the requirements will be gathered so that the replacement will exactly functionally your new one will replace the old. So the requirement is the word common word that we collectively called all these criteria, all these conditions, all these compliances, and in fact all whatever the functionality expectations, whatever they follow it on a flow, that is a flow, we call it as a business flow. All these things are constituting the requirements. It is very important. Now you can very well understand. It is very important. The reason is that when you are delivering the software or as a final delivery, the business has to use it, right? So if there is a shortcoming at the delivery, then naturally there should be a shortcoming at the requirement phase. So if the requirement is complete, all the scope to the width and breadth of the scope is covered, then the delivery will be complete. So that is very important. The benefit will be it is going to exactly substitute the existing system, be a manual system or the existing, or it is from the scratch system what the client expects, we are delivering the same. So the benefits is the requirement should be gathered in fullest. So does it mean that requirement is only single? No, there are types, there are categories. When you talk about the functional requirement is one category, one type, non-functional is another type, industry specific. This is a very general one. When you talk about the functional, any department or any particular work or task is completed, that seems to be a function, correct? So for that particular task to be completed, from where the information comes, who is doing what, how the task comes to the end, from the logical begin to the logical end. All these things constitute the functionality. So the requirements which are all part of this functional execution is called a functional requirement. Then comes a non-functional. Non-functional is very simple. It is not going to talk about exactly the task, but it is going to have a metric over the task. Let us say I have a bigger value, but I want to execute it within this timeline possible. That is what the non-requirement. Now they are looking for some quality. They are looking for some timelines within which this much of value to be processed. So these are all called non-functional. How this non-functional is going to relate it to functional? Exactly, it will. The reason is that let us say there is a big batch files. They want to process all the batch files within the time. So if it is going serially one by one, naturally the timeline will be out. So we cannot meet the client expectation in terms of the time. So we need to have a multiple processing of the batches so that within the same stipulated time, all the batches will be processed, right? Now this is coming connectedly to the functional area. But the client will not say, I want multiprocessor, all these things they will not say. They will say only this is my requirement within which we will have to finish it. That is it. On the timeline specification is a non-functional requirement. Then comes the industry specific, definitely healthcare, banking, manufacturing, be it any insurance, be it any industry, they have their own rules, they have their own guidelines. All these things should be covered. That is what we call it as industry specific. Because of the industry specific things are available, we have to mention, take it as a requirement. Usually when the functional is mentioned, even the business will themselves give what is otherwise the industry specific. But more and above, we need to have this specification mentioned. Coming to the category, we have seen functional, we have seen non-functional, we have seen industry. But coming to the categories, that could be different categories which are all pointing towards these types. One is a business client process. They will tell the process how the tasks are completed, how the department, how the task is moving from one department to another, how this handshake between the departments are happening. All these things they will take. That is what the business process. That is a client business. Then we have, see, once when all the tasks are completed, naturally what is there is a regulator. The regulatory board always time to time they change some of the parameters, which these parameters to be properly tuned within the software. It may be through configuration or it may be through any control as per based on the architecture of the software. But however, the regulatory compliance is needed, legal aspects to be taken. This is the second category. This is to be also mentioned specifically. Then comes the system. The client may have his own infrastructure. He may insist that existing infrastructure to be used for the new system, possible, or he may insist, okay, I'm going for a technology upgrade, and with this functionality and non-functionality, you can suggest. But they may specifically go for some expectation that is coming under system or infrastructure. Then the user, the end user interface. This is very common because when you talk about any software for that, the user will come, user will enter everything, the data capture. That is what we call screen capturing of the data. But what is most important? What are the items to be captured from the input from the users? If it is an existing system which is also in the software, then there is no issue. At least we are going to duplicate, we can have it, and over and above what is needed, we can always ask for it. If it is a quite new system, then we will have to have work out to be done to identify which are all the items which is coming under GUI. Then comes external interfaces. The system may provide some of the report, the system may provide some of the batches of files created which is to be delivered external to the system. That is possible. Like your banking, in your net banking, if you are downloading a statement of account, it is coming to you, right? It is coming to your device. Same way it is possible. So external interfaces, how they are going to handle the core system, how they are going to handle it is very important. For example, API, through API also possible, or I am going to place some common place where the data is going to be shared. All these things are coming under external interfaces. Then other resources like what kind of architecture it is to be governed for the software making, and what kind of the databases, because if it is existing, they may have some license on the database which they want to use it, or otherwise if it is new, what are the needed for it. All these things are coming under the category. Now I think we have pretty enough covered what is to be in a high level to be covered as part of the requirement gathering. But the requirement gathering, it cannot be done in a single way. It has got a lot of methods, techniques. I'm going to cover I'm going to include some of the techniques here, but not exhaustive. But before going there, I want to tell you what are the process. See, who does this job? Mainly, it is done by a BA, that is called a business analyst. Who is SME? He is your subject matter expert who can handle it well. He is trained, he is knowledgeable on that. So a BA will do that. When BA comes into the picture, he has to undergo the requirement gathering process, which will include the following steps. Number one is, because when the software is given, the software may be for a core, so there are multiple departments are coming in, so multiple stakeholders are coming in. So the BA will identify who are all the stakeholders, what are all the tasks completed in each and every department or a division, and whose roles are coming into the system, how they are interacting with the system software or the task process. All these things he will have to do. Then he will define, based on it, he has to define the scope boundaries for each division or department. And the gray areas between, which is a common between this also he will note it down, so that if at all something to be done on this thing, who will take what kind of authority. That is also a challenging one. These requirements are gathered. He has to go to the department and he has to gather all the information, what exactly the requirements needed for the firm, for the department, for the task. All these things he will gather it. In terms of functionally, in terms of non-functional, in terms of industry specific, and all the categories. He cannot go serially one by one. No, at one go he has to gather for all the categories and all the types. And the gathering, the requirement gathering is not a single way. There are many techniques, as I already told you. We may be visiting that shortly. Then All these things, once it is connected, then very importantly, it has to be documented. The documentation is that it is going to be a true fact which can be verified at any point of time. Once the documentations are done, it has to be given to the business or the client to verify whether they are agreeing with what we understood about the system is okay. He'll have to take the confirmation. If that is the case, the documentation should have all these functionalities, all these non-functionalities, all these categories of the requirement should be well mentioned, so that there will not be any misunderstanding or gap in understanding will happen between the people who create the software and the people who are giving this job, between business and IT. Okay. Once the business go through the document, they will appreciate. That document is called a business requirement document. The document, after going verify iteratively, they will give it to all the internal departments. Once it is validated, then they will give, yes, it is okay, good to go, they will sign off. Then after this is over, then again there is a meeting will happen with the BA, find it out, okay, this is the one you have given, shall we take in the same way, or you want to prioritize, okay, I have 10 requirements, but first first, third, fifth requirement you take it forward first, then you go for them. Because in Sdlc, please refer my Sdlc video, there are a number of ways we are doing iterative, incremental, there are ways to do that. So according to the client expectation, we need to deliver it. Then the prioritization of this requirement will happen. So these are all the process. Once as I told you, there are many number of techniques. I'm not going to include all the techniques. It is not an exhaustive list, but it is including high level of these things. Usually this is followed. Workshop, definitely people, every department will come. They will conduct a workshop. They will talk. They will tell the IT people how they are doing, and tell the BA what is the task, how they are doing it, what is the process they are following, how the data are coming inside, how the whole follow in terms of the authority, in terms of the execution, in terms of the data flow, information flow, all these things they will do. That is what the workshop. Then the interviews, the BA can talk to everybody to understand the gravity, how they are executing the work. Collaborative sessions, and the BA can organize within the department group of people to understand that. Surveys and questionnaire, very normal method, but this is very effective method because you have proof in your house. Surveys will give, questionnaires we have, then we are collecting it and we are validating. But what is most important, the surveys and questionnaires, the content of it is very important. It has to drive the software. Then observation is that going to the department and just sitting and observing it. How people usually do that. This is done when usually manual to IT, first time they are doing it. This is done usually, observation is one of them. Then prototyping, already in Sdlc my video I have explained is what is prototyping. The small system which we want to tell that this is what it is like this. So when any talks, then the BA will create a prototype and they will try to say this is the way we are, like a flow diagram or something you will tell. So if business agree to it, then the understanding is right that way. Then use cases, scenarios, all these things are talking about with specific stock execution. Scenario use case is very specific to the particular event, how it will be, how they are doing the task. Scenario is the little bigger one, meaning a scenario will have multiple use cases. If it is very sensitive, very specific, the BA will create the scenarios. Under the scenarios, he will create the use cases and the respective department has to react to it, how they handle it, so that the quality of the software stands very good. Then comes document analysis, because every department, they have their own circular procedures to be followed, manuals are there. By reading the document, the BA can understand how the flow goes. Brainstorming is one of the area. If the BA is coming into a common place where he cannot get the input, even interacting with the departments, then naturally he can call the department people and he can throw this doubt as a point. So the brainstorming will come. So usually if these people have all the inputs already, they would have given it during the interview time or workshop time. Since if there is a missing, the brainstorming session is going to bring the understanding. So business will agree what exactly they are doing it, which can be duplicated in the software. Then focus groups, always strategically how the flow goes, how they are controlling, how the users created. These are all based on the focus groups. So these are all the various techniques the BA uses, and the BA exercise these techniques during the recurring gathering. Then he prepares the document. A document, as I already told you, BRD will be very, very useful. Then that is going to be the basis. This is the truth of fact. Okay, based on which everything will come. Any changes happen, then it has to refit in the BRD, so that at any point of time the document will get full updated items. So next comes, what are the benefits? By doing the gathering, you yourself will understand that there is no ad hoc work. Everything is covered, no ad hoc, and it comes fully, and the planning can be done because we have all the requirements in our hand. So what are to be delivered at what timelines? All these things can be done. It is the agreement. It is not that IT people are going to tell. It is not only the IT team which is going to decide. It is the business who wants at what time. So accordingly, the IT team has to deliver. So this is possible. Then resource utilization will be there. Then accelerated. The communication between inter-department communication also increases. Naturally, cross-validation, as I already told you, there is a gray area if there are some talks growing between these two departments. How the control, the cross-validation process, and how do I know this process is correct? The output of one of the task is the input to another. So how can I validate all these things? And definitely it gives the satisfaction, because deliverables always makes this team people happy, because it is replacing their work, right? It is substituting their work, right? Then quality assessment can be done. What are the original expectations done by the department? Same thing can be done here. Then risk assessment is a part and parcel. What is the risk? Every time, if something needed but it is not done, but that may happen, may not happen, and some of the flows we don't know how to go about. All these things are pointed as a risk. That is called, we call it as a risk register. BA maintains the risk register during the business analysis phase. That will be maintained, and whenever the risks are addressed, he marks everything. That is also part and parcel of the documentation. So these are all the benefits out of business gathering. So what is the critical point? How, something goes wrong, how it will go? The critical factors are, definitely it will go wrong if you don't have a scope. A department did not give you a scope, meaning that unclear boundaries, unclear scopes, unclear requirements they are giving, and they are not participating. Users are hesitation, they are not participating, and it is not properly documented to refer how to go about at the time of software preparation. Definitely this will all making confusion. Then there could be communication barriers, which somebody wants to tell but they cannot understand. Then the involvement of all these people, these stakeholders, respective key people in the department, if their level of involvement, that is also going to impact the success. That way, requirement, now you can understand that requirement gathering is very, very essential for the software preparation, and it is the very, very important place in Sdlc. Okay friends, for watching this video. Thanks all. I'll meet you all with another title in another video. Okay, bye bye.